Hi, this is Ricky Keller, and I'm going to demo Milestone 2 of my game Overclock. It's actually playing on an iPhone this time, which is good because that's my target device. Just took a picture. But let's go ahead and open it up. I had a new icon. That's one of the new assets I got from my artist friend who's helped me out, which it makes me feel a whole lot better. To see new art. First off, this wasn't part of the milestone, but I fixed this. It now scales to the different sizes, so it's a lot more easily readable. It's a bit wordy and can be redesigned, but it scales with the screen properly now, so that's good. Something that was in the milestone was the build bench over here. So I have these build icons down here. You don't get icons anymore. You don't get pieces automatically anymore, so let's put a few pieces out to attack. Game still operates as it did before. When you buy pieces, you can see that it says 460 now, so if I buy that shield guy, that blocker, it costs 60, so 60 was removed from 460. So that's all functioning now. As you notice, there's no delay right now. I can just make as many as I want immediately. Ooh, let's put a guy there. And right now, I'm getting overwhelmed because I'm displaying things, but let's back out and we'll restart it. That was the first thing I wanted to demo. The second thing is, kind of works together with that, is the HUD is essentially in place. This might change from scrap after a few design discussions with my friend. I think I like the idea of scrap, but so long as it's easily recognizable that it's part of your currency and what you're using to build. Am I missing here? It appears I have a bug. So if you start again, live demoing bugs. Well, that's fun. So let's restart it. So I'll put that on my issue list. Sorry about that. Let's restart it. Apparently second playthrough of the game, which I should have caught by now. You can't build any units. That was a big mistake there. But the HUD is essentially in place as I was saying before. You can see this little guy up in the top. This little man running across the top. Right now he just kind of moves across, and when he gets to the arrow over here, you win. So let's see if I can get a win condition. Actually, that's not part of this milestone, but I have put in a win condition. So I won't essentially demo that right now, but he indicates, this little guy at the top indicates how far you are through the level. That's going to be modified throughout. Essentially, in other games like Plants vs. Zombies, you go through the game, and as long as you last until all the enemies come, and there's different waves and things. But if you last until all the enemies are gone, you can win. But this is going to be basically last until this little man reaches the edge here. The idea is that at the end of the game, instead of the match just ending, hopefully I can stop from a death. He'll hop down, and there'll be this like robot, kind of a mech situation here. Essentially, is the plan. Oh boy. Let's see if I get a lose now. Just lost, and that's a temporary fail screen. But when he reaches the end, he'll jump down into this mech, and as a reward for winning the level, instead of the game just ending, or the level just ending, become and have like a giant blast that kind of just nukes everything on the screen. So all the elements, the heroes, enemies will just be washed away. The idea is to wait for this little guy at the top, which is the pilot, to get into this mech to help defend the rest of the base. If you can't do that before he gets there and the base is overrun, then you lose the game. So those are the win and lose conditions. Those are essentially um, milestone 3, and I'll make that a little bit nicer and have like an animation, a timeout, which takes you back to the level screen, because level select menu will be next milestone as well. Finally, the new power converter assets. This is power, this is speed, and this is ice power converter. And as you can tell, they're new. Um, they hopefully give a better idea of like which tiles that they affect. Hopefully that'll be a bit more clear. In the future, we'll talk more about. I have a feature in the future to highlight the tiles um, of which areas are affected. I might do that instead of the tiles. I might have the gunners and blockers become highlighted themselves. Really just the gunners, because these power converters wouldn't affect the blockers. But that's the plan for now. But I'll talk with Toph about that later. Okay, let's jump into the code a little bit and talk more about design. Alright, so we're going to take a look at the code. I just wanted to touch on two things that I didn't think I mentioned very well when doing the gameplay walkthrough, and sorry it's a bit shaky. It turns out I'm not a very good player when I'm holding the camera first of all, and it's hard to try to manage both at the same time. But I did want to point out in the bottom here where we had, let me see if I can turn it on real quick since you saw it playing on the device. I'll just play it here, but let's mute that for now. These pieces down here, when you build them, they don't take a build time, which is temporary. At some point, they will take a build time at kind of variable lengths, and by variable I mean each one will have their own length, maybe, or maybe they'll have the same, but they will have a build length, so there will be some sort of delay in getting to the bench, and then being able to be dragged back on screen. Let's pause this real quick so we can. Oh, there's really no good ways. Oh yes, there is. Okay. Another thing is that there's a blank space here, which this guy just runs over. So this slot is for next milestone. I'll have power boxes at the end of each row, and when the power box this is where they will lay. When they're attacked, the safety net is gone. I was going to have it in the future that the lane would be destroyed, and then you would have to work with 4 lanes, and then 3 lanes, and then the game was over when all 3 lanes are destroyed. But I thought that might extend the length of each level kind of long. So I'm playing around with the idea of just having it be similar to a lawnmower from Plants vs. Zombies, where it wipes out the row with some sort of an explosion or something, but then you can place units here and enemies can still come down, and when they get past that part again, it's just like the safety net's gone, right? The very last thing I wanted to discuss was, so he's walking over here and jumping down. I'm sorry. The very last thing I wanted to discuss was the placement, which I wrote an email about to my advisor. Placing power converters at specific spots, and then kind of having this color-coded system as to where you could place things and what spots were okay. I thought because of the colors of them already that it might get confusing if units are colored and tiles are colored as well. There would be some confusion with the player. I might play around with it some more. I was hoping that the idea is that these power converters wouldn't be, you wouldn't have enough scrap at the beginning of the level to be able to purchase these necessarily. So you would have to destroy some units, and each unit, or each enemy, sorry, would drop a piece of scrap, which you'd have to tap and collect, similar to Sunflower, but you're not automatically getting it. You have to actively be defending yourself and attacking and destroying enemies to get that, to earn enough to place these. So you'd have to form some sort of a defense without them in order to earn them, and then which one you choose first will be a decision you have to make. Maybe players will go for the same one. Maybe that the numbers will need to be played with how overpowered they are. And last thing here, the when a hero character dies, I didn't point it out, but their half of their cost is automatically replenished to their currency pile here. Okay, so now that we're done with that, let's look in the code real quick. Quickly, the pilot script is very simple. He just starts moving at a speed when he hits a position. I could put a collider on there or something maybe, but right now it's just a position. Right now you just win, but in the future, like I said in the video before, he'll jump down and signify like the winning animation and sort of the reward the player gets for beating the level. But right now it's fairly simple. So pointing this out, they end the game here when the spawn script kind of destroys all the characters on the board, the enemies and the heroes, and the runner itself for now, and then stop spawning new enemies. Here, each enemy, when they have a chance to reach the end, and when they do, this is their position, they can end the game as well, and they would trigger the lose screen instead of the win screen. So this is build script, which is each one of the pieces on the bottom left, which you tap in order to build a unit to get them on the build bench, is what I'm calling it at the moment. They take in a game object. They have a reference to the build bench as well, so they can get the build script. But they have a cost and the object itself that they're capable to build, and they give it to the build manager. Let me just, I guess, point that out real quick. So if we're looking at the HUD and the gunner, for example, builds a gunner, and here's a reference to the bench, and then their cost is 40, which is displayed here, right? Good. And last thing, the build manager is responsible for managing the bench itself, determining, a builder can want to build something, but the build manager's job is to check if there's enough scrap. If there's not, they say, no, sorry, we can't build any new units right now. You don't have enough currency. So that's one way of kicking them out. Also, it checks if the bench is full. You can have a maximum of 5 at the moment. There's another limitation there. And then after that, it builds it, kind of operates as a factory, gives it its cost that way. Gives the hero its cost that way. When it's destroyed, it calls deconstruct, which would add scrap back to the scrap pile. And the scrap, I don't have it pointed out, but the value they pass back is half of what they gave in. Removing from the bench is simply when they're dragged from the bench onto a tile. It doesn't have to be managed, and their position doesn't need to be updated anymore. Also, it removes a position so that a new object can be built. So all that's managed within the build script. Let's see if I can update the hero script. I did a lot of other cleanup, which isn't not going to be good for the video because it could take a while to talk about. But cost divided by 2, so they get half of their cost right now back to, or when they're destroyed. I'll be emailing Toph, if this is you watching, I'll be emailing you to talk to you more about the delaying of the characters and forcing the player to build more of a strategy base. I think some of the things I talked about here will be good. I'm not 100% on the giving the power converters defined positions. Sorry, I was looking for a word. Predefined positions which they can't be moved or can only be swapped. I'm playing with that idea still, but I'll talk with you more about it. Okay, so to wrap up, again, my name is Ricky Keller. This is Milestone 2 for my game Overclock. Thanks.